Lesson number 21, Bud Powell Solo Break, Analysis and Performance in all 12 keys. You can visit the link in the description below to download a free PDF copy of this lesson so you can follow along. In our last lesson, we looked at my transcription of Bud Powell's Solo Break on the tune Celia and how to learn it in all 12 keys using a ear-based approach. We sang it in all 12 keys, we ghosted notes in our right hand while singing, and finally we were able to sing it away from our instrument in all 12 keys. Now this is an approach that works really well for some people but not so well for others. So there's something else I like to do with my students which is more based in music theory. And it's, I think, what you would consider a more scientific and analytical approach to the problem of learning melodies and transcriptions and tunes in all 12 keys. In future lessons, I'll try to combine both methods together so you won't have to watch two videos, but I just thought it would be an interesting experiment to separate it in two videos for my first attempt at doing this. So the first thing that I like to do when I'm approaching learning a transcription in all 12 keys from an analytical perspective, or from a sort of music theory, scientific perspective, is break the transcription down into small parts and analyze what's going on. So the first thing I'd like to do is look at our first measure of our solo break transcription. So on beat 1 we have a beat of silence, and then on beat 2 we have beat 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So let's look what's going on in each beat of the measure. In measure number 2, it sounds like we have a scale of some sort. And if you think about what scale those 4 notes could be from, the first thing that comes to mind for me is the major pentatonic scale. Now it's a little hard to recognize because it doesn't start on the first note of the major pentatonic scale. So if you don't know what the major pentatonic scale is, it is a scale based off of the major scale, except we only use 5 notes from that scale. So in the key of B flat, our major scale is B flat, C, D, B flat, F, G, A, B flat. Our pentatonic scale is based off the root, the second note, the third note, the fifth note, and the sixth note. Right? And we call this the major pentatonic scale. So if you look at all 4 notes in the second beat of the first measure, they all belong to that scale. Okay? So it's a B flat major pentatonic scale starting on the 5th of the scale. Okay, let's look at the beat number 3 of the first measure. Now we've encountered something like this in our previous lessons, I believe when we were looking at our Keith Jarrett or our Herbie Hancock transcription. And it's something that music analysts of jazz transcriptions call circling. So we have to figure out what our target note is and which notes we're using to circle the target note. Okay, so the target note I'm hearing is the D, or the third of the chord our line is based on. So let's look at how we approach that D. Half step below, then we actually resolve to the note. We go a half step above, and then down a half step below again, and finally we resolve to the D on the 4th beat of the measure. Half step below, resolve, above, below, resolve. Okay, and that's all based on the circling of the 3rd of the chord that we're currently on. Okay, so up the pentatonic scale, circling the 3rd. And then when we get to here, it sounds like we're going down an arpeggiation of a common chord that we know, which is a B flat 6 chord. That's exactly the chord we're on anyway in our left hand. Okay. So what we have to do is figure out what inversion of the chord this is. Since our lowest note is the 5th, we know that it's a second inversion of the chord. Okay. So you can either approach this 2 ways. You can think of this as an arpeggiation descending from the 3rd of the major 6 chord, D, or ascending from the 5th of the major 6 chord. But you would approach it from the top. So let's put all these pieces together for the first measure of our transcription. Up the pentatonic scale based on the fifth, circling the D or the third of the chord, and then down the major 6 arpeggio. Okay? So what I would do at this point is try to take this through a couple other keys. So let's look at the key of C major for simplicity's sake. So we're going to start a major pentatonic scale on the fifth based on our current chord, which is C6 or C major 7. So we're going to start in G, up the pentatonic scale. When we get to here, we're going to approach the third, the E of C6 by half step below, resolve, half step above, half step below, resolve, and we go down the 6 arpeggio. Okay, let's try it in another key. How about the key of F? Starting on the fifth of the major pentatonic scale based on F. Approach the third of the chord below a half step, resolve, above a half step, below, resolve, down the major 6 arpeggio. Okay, how about in the key of E flat, starting on B flat, the fifth of our major pentatonic. Approach the third, half step below, resolve, above, below, resolve, down the major 6 arpeggio. Okay? And you would keep doing that until you could do it in all 12. Now we can start taking a look at the second measure of our transcription. So the first beat starts off with an embellishment of the root of our chord, which is B flat 6 or B flat major. We approach it from a diatonic step above, or you could just think of it as a whole step, and then a half step below. You've probably heard Bud Powell play something like this before. Right? And all he's doing is approaching the chord tone from a diatonic step above, meaning within the chords or within the scale of the chord, and then a half step below the approached note. Right? But he actually doesn't go up like that, he goes. So what's going on in the second beat? This looks like an extension of the B flat major 7 chord from the previous beat. So we have this embellishment, and then on the approach note before the first note of the next beat, we start on B flat, and it looks like we go up to the third of our major 7 chord, 7th, or third, 5th, and then 7th, and then down a half step. We've got third, fifth, 7th, down a half step. Okay, we actually have to look at the next beat to see what's really going on here with these half steps. So the A, down a half step, down another half step, is leading to this chord tone, which is actually an implication of a C minor 7, F7, or a 2-5 in the key of B flat. See how that sounds versus doesn't really fit very well. Okay, so when we go up those chord tones from the B flat major 7, root, third, fifth, 7th, half step approach to the 5th of what would be our C minor 7 or our 2 chord, and then we're simply just going to go down the arpeggiation of the C minor 7. 7th, so that's like a third inversion C minor 7 chord. Then the B flat or the 7th of that chord resolves perfectly to the third of our F7, our dominant chord. Then we jump up to the flat 9, G flat of the F7. Okay. And then we jump down to this simple, what we would call enclosure, leading up to the F major, the F or the 5th of the B flat major chord. Flat 7, up a half step, resolve to the 5th. A very common bebop line. half step resolving to the 5th of our 2 chord, down the arpeggio, resolve to the 3rd, flat 9, flat 7, up a half step, resolve to the 5th of our major chord. Okay, so let's review the whole line one more time before playing it in all 12 keys. So we start on our major pentatonic, starting on the 5th, approach the 3rd by half step below, half step above, half step below, resolve, down the major 6 arpeggio, embellishment of the root, up the major 7 arpeggio, connect by a half step to the C minor, 2 chord, down the arpeggio, resolve to the 3rd, flat 9, resolve to the 5th. Okay, and I'll write all this out in the PDF document so that you can follow along a little more easily. So now I'm going to demonstrate the transcription in all 12 keys, and we're going to take it at a slow tempo, around 80 beats per minute. And our goal here really isn't speed, it's clarity of the line and being sure of our fingering and making sure that we're hearing the line clearly in our head. So we'll start off in the key of C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Try that one more time. Had a little fingering issue on that one too. As I'm playing through these, I'm identifying the fingering issues I'm having. On the last one, I was hitting the pinky just slightly wrong, so I corrected it on the second time and it was no problem. So now we're in the key of A. D. And finally G. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. In future lessons, we'll combine the ear training segment with the analysis segment, so you won't have to watch 2 videos on the transcriptions. I do come out with new videos every single week, so if that's something you might be interested in, please subscribe. Feel free to leave me a comment below or send me a message with any suggestions or questions you might have about my videos. Thanks for watching.